All right, so I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he was in the process of selling his business, and we had sold our business, at this point, 6, 7 months ago. And he was talking about how he's starting to get bored. He's about a month, 2 months out, and it's just a big change. You go from being in your business every single day, running it, think about customers, how you're going to manage customers, ordering things, um, just everything that comes with being in a business day to day, your numbers, your profit, paying your bills, paying people. There's just a lot, and to go from that to doing pretty much nothing instantly is a huge change. And people always think that sounds great, and for me, the first 2, maybe 2.5 months was pretty good. It was exciting. I didn't have to do physical labor, which was the business we were in. But after that point, I got to a point where I started feeling really purposeless, and kind of useless, honestly, because you just don't have a lot to do. And so what we were talking about, like, there's fun in the fight. And so, like, we all have these goals, and we all want to do things, whether you have a business or you have a job, a career, whatever it is, fitness goals. We all have these things we want to do. But if you think back to any time you've achieved a goal, and maybe this isn't for everyone, but I know, like, for myself and a few of my buddies I've talked to who've had similar experiences as far as either selling a business or leaving a job, for different reasons. Once you accomplish that goal, once you sell the business, or hit the goal, whatever that mark is, you hit it. A lot of times you kind of get there and you're like, this is it. It's not super exciting. Like, the the excitement came from the challenge, from the pursuit, from having to go after it and work, and the person you're becoming to accomplish those things. Like, that was the excitement, that was the fun. There was fun in the fight. And so once you lose that, you're kind of like, you're sitting, like, you're floating around with very little purpose. And luckily for me, we have 4 kids that I get to do a lot more with now and help out with their schooling and everything. And we have other businesses that I get to help with. But that was still a struggle for me, because even with the other businesses that we have a great team in place that really drives and handles a lot of stuff, where, like, I help with more of the vision and the strategy and coming up with ideas. But I'm not getting hands on with a lot of stuff anymore. And because of that, there's times where it's like, man, like, I'm not doing much. And, like, when, and Courtney, my wife, she reminds me of this, like, when I step back and look, like, my fingerprints are all over it. Um, but I'm just not always the one building it anymore, which is a difficult place to be. And so I think a big thing is, and it really dawned on me when we had this conversation, me and my buddy, but, like, there's fun in the fight. There's a reason why you want to have goals. You want to have something you're going after. And it's never, the best parts are the parts you look back on. It's the good old days, so to speak. That's the parts that people really miss. That's the things that people really look back and think about. It's not about, oh, when I got to this or when I did this. Like, yeah, there may be some excitement, there may be some pride in that, there may be some value in that, um, but, like, all the things I look back on, I was like, man, like, think about, like, where we were and how we got there and all the things that we did during that. Like, that's the stuff you look back on, and you really reminisce over when you do take a minute to look back at what you've done, or where you came from. And so I think that's so important, is whether, again, whether it's selling a business or leaving a job or going after some type of goal in your life, is there is fun in the pursuit. There's fun in the fight. And if you can keep that in mind, I think it can go a long way, because even when you're going to make a transition out of a business or out of a career, or you're chasing a goal and you're coming close to it, one thing that always helped me until we sold the business, and then now I'm like kind of relearning it again, or finding new things to go after, and new routines to set for myself. But every time we had a goal, before we got there, I was already, like, moving on to the next thing. And so Courtney used to give me a hard time about this all the time, because I would not get excited about things. Like, we would hit things and she'd be like, this is like where we are in life is exactly where we wanted to be 3 years ago when we got there. I'm like, yeah, cool, but, like, I'm trying to go here now. I would always just keep upping the level and pushing it forward, which is a great thing to do, and I think you should. But you should also take some time to be grateful for what you've accomplished and what you have, and there's importance to that because that's part of the process. And so I think you always have to be moving forward. You always have to be growing. You always have to be setting new goals and chasing for the next thing. But you have to be grateful for what you have and what you've worked for and what you've been blessed with. And so I'm kind of in that stage now with that transition, and my buddy and another one of my buddies that I've talked to recently, kind of in similar situations where once that goes away, you have to find that purpose. You have to find how you can be useful in new ways, and it can be a big identity shift from what you're used to. And so, um, again, just hearing that, that's fun in the fight. There's fun in the fight. And when I look back, that's so true. There's always, there's stressful days, stressful, months, hours, high intensity situations where you're just like stressing out on how you're going to do certain things, or, things cost so much, or, you spent money and customers cancel and now you're on the hook for, materials, whatever it may be. Um, there's a lot of stress involved in that. But looking back on it, it was fun to see what you're able to do. There's fun in that, going after and having to be on and having to, push and make it happen and go get it. Um, there's something to be said about that, and that goes for every area of life. And so, just keep in mind that, like, even if you're not where you want to be yet, you're working towards where you want to go. Like, don't stop striving, don't stop pushing. But as you push for that, try to be grateful for the moment. And it's not always easy. If you're struggling to make payroll, you don't have a lot of customers coming in, you grew too fast, and now you're kind of crashing out, and you got to like re-level and get back going again, or you're just getting started, and you're like, man, how is this ever going to take off? Like, those are stressful times where there's a lot of uncertainty and you don't know what's going to happen. But the reality is once you push through it and you keep going and you give it the time and you put the work in, you know you're going to look back, and there's going to be a lot of good that came out of that. You're going to learn a lot of lessons from that. It's going to help you, as you continue to grow, and there is fun in the fight. And so, sometimes we forget that. Sometimes I forget that even now. And so when I heard that the other day, and then I was talking to my buddy about it and was able to bring it up, um, it was it's kind of a cool moment because we were in very similar positions, that not a lot of people always are. And so it was just it was nice to be able to connect in that way and talk about that, and also remind myself of that too. Of, you got to have something you're chasing. You got to have goals you're going after. You know, I've heard it, but if you're not growing, you're dying. If your business isn't growing, it's dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. You got to be trying to get better, trying to develop into something new, develop new skills. Um, and you got to just push to be learning new things, doing new things, and figuring things out. And so there's fun in the fight, and now you just got to go out there and do it.